Jim's last day for the hell yesterday. It's tough to pull off.
Good job.
Yeah. So we get contact with Mike.
Wonderful. All right, well, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, especially the board of selectmen. Attendance is myself, Mike Ergo, first selected, David Kate, select board, Bob Carlson, selected, Christine Diaz, admin finance, we've been taking minutes remotely. It's just a short agenda today with some things as it relates to this referendum and also the special town meeting that we discussed that we're going to have. So the first item on the agenda is COVID protocols for June 28th referendum discussion. The selectmen are aware an email had come in asking about mask requirements for voting, and I said that I would bring this up to the board. Currently, what we have been doing is following recommendations that the legislature has. I did speak with legislature. I know the registrars also called legislature and talked to them. You can certainly make masks required if you wanted to. It isn't necessary to do that. We can do what we did just like for the town meeting, where we have a sign that asks anyone who is unvaccinated to wear a mask. And we could provide masks as well for anyone who may have forgotten one. So it's really just, do you kind of looking for the selectmen if they have an opinion on this?
Yeah, so my opinion is if we have signage and we use the honor system, which is what Connecticut's using basically for non-vaccinated people, and provide masks for those who might have forgotten them or want to wear them, that's fine. I don't think they wear masks unnecessarily.
So, so what you're saying is that you're not going to have to.
I'm asking your opinion. So
Yeah.
we can do whatever we want. To ask everyone to wear a mask is something we could do. There is no scientific reason for those who are vaccinated to wear masks in this situation. The only time it could still be possibly suggested to do is if there were a congregate setting that there were a great many people at. Voting isn't really that situation.
Now, didn't the ladies who are responsible last time they wanted everybody to be wear anything, correct?
So
That was also a month ago.
Right.
So things have changed. I mean, since then, they've opened up ballparks, sporting arenas, people sitting closer than we are. I just think as Mike said, scientifically, there's no reason, no proof that you have to wear one if you've been vaccinated. But the Connecticut is using an honor roll system. Ones that did not ask me to see an ID card. And so if that's the case, and we have signage asking people to do the right thing, and we provide masks to those that forget it, we're fine. But to require people that don't need to wear masks to wear them, I think is wrong. So my opinion is what I said earlier.
I think we kind of could have more problems than we want if we try to mandate masks. So I think that we have to make sure that, and I will follow up if there's an agreement on it with the registrars to make sure that the poll workers understand they absolutely can wear masks if they want to. That's protection for them. But if you're vaccinated, there's no reason for you. But everybody can do what they want to do. So. I mean, I would agree with Bob. I would suggest that we put the signage up asking for anyone, just like we have out right now, that says those who are vaccinated, should wear masks, provide masks to the door, and leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. So I think I'll send an email just modifying that. The other number 3. So I had spoken with. Legislature how, they had sent out some emails about having some days for vaccination clinics. Of course, I think we're probably running around 50% on vaccinations. I thought it could be a great opportunity to do some vaccinations the day of the vote if we position them at a place where they're not, they're outside maybe after people vote or somewhere off to the side. So obviously we're not putting it in the hallway or something like that. It's an optional thing, but you know, if you figure 50% of the town isn't vaccinated, there's a chance that half the people coming to vote are, and maybe we can vaccinate some more people if they're interested. I just wanted to see the selectmen's opinion on that.
No, I sort of mentioned it to you. And I would really like to do that. It reminded me of the meeting that we've gone to the library and, you know, to bring people into things so that they will.
Okay. You have an opinion, Bob?
I just a general opinion about vaccines, and it's, I'm not opposed to making them available to anyone that wants them. I'm just opposed to government telling them that they have to get them. So anytime we want to make them available, make it easier for those that do want to get them to get them, that's not stuff, and those are my, so I'm fine with it.
I mean, when you think about the 6 o'clock in the morning, kind of thing, some of those people maybe, you know, we haven't.
Okay.
So, I don't, so Ledgely wouldn't be here all day. They asked me about when they thought the busier time would be. I figured if they were here like 4 to 7, maybe that would be a good time. I mean, you're either gonna hit morning or afternoon. I could ask them if they want to do 2 shifts. Maybe they could do an early morning and then afternoon. I'll ask them if they'd be willing to do that. I thought about setting them up, so everyone will leave through this door, and I thought about maybe just around the corner outside, so they're not in the parking lot when people come in, they're kind of like, you have to walk by them on the way out, so people would be, if they're interested, they could grab a vaccine on their way out if they wanted to.
So would there be any marketing of this, or would it just be, when people show up, they see it's available and get it if they want to get it?
I would put it in my update to let people know that it's happening. I don't know if Ledgely, they would probably, maybe they would publicize it. I don't
I
know.
think that if you put in your update, which is fine, as long as the message was that it was strictly optional and making it for convenient for those.
I'm gonna tell people that they have to do it in order to vote.
Perfect.
Like you said.
I know he's joking. So if we're aligned to get LOL for that.
I said, I'm gonna tell people they have to do it to vote. No, it's still, I mean, it's an option, and I think maybe some people will take advantage of it. I've heard people, Steve Mansfield said on a call recently, some of these clinics, you know, they're thrilled if they get 20 people vaccinated now, because, you know, so many people have gotten it, but there are people who haven't gotten around to it yet, or they've been, it's just not, you know, they're not prioritizing it, so if it's here, maybe we'll catch some people that want it. So, yeah, I understand, Bob, I certainly wouldn't mandate the vaccine for anybody. Okay, moving on. So we talked about referendum advertising, which is number 4. You were gonna put together a postcard of some sort that they would mail out,
Yes,
and you've probably done that.
yes, I have now. Don't be shocked.
No one's gonna hear you unless you put your face right up to that.
All right.
You have
You have to, no one can hear
Okay,
you.
all right, so, first of all, this is a draft, okay? And so I have one that's about the size that it's due. And I basically, I'm going to take the other ones. They're small. And my purpose here is, you know, a lot of times when you do something like this, you're not giving people enough information. So what I really aim to do is that people look at this and think about it. It's going to be in their mailbox. And so basically, I want you all to see it. It look a lot prettier than this one. I get it all scribbled out. Which I think you have to decide what you like or don't like.
Do you have the ability to do any highlighting?
Yes.
in the backside? Look at 2 areas that we see that people don't see, but if we highlight it in yellow or something, for those who need assistance to drive up to vote in their car, there will be signs, so that tells them to drive up to vote. And the second, just the lens is absentee ballots and not. Those 2 things are highlighted, I think they would stick out more than a bunch of black. I mean, just a suggestion.
Do you like the idea of putting the questions on the ballot on this?
I think it's perfectly,
I think it's fine.
yeah, perfectly fine.
And then I thought that this, on the front page with, I was, trying to say what I feel anyway. And that is really, the numbers here are very positive. Didn't so far.
I mean, there's obviously more of a story behind the numbers for those that want information. The only thing I might suggest adding is the town website, which you have already.
Yeah.
So more the budgets are, I mean, you have it all here. I think it's good. You have any suggestions?
Peter, you removed the room location for the vote, you took out the media center.
I did.
I'd like it to be put back, because I think people may be confused if it's in the old gym rather than in the media center, and they might go to the door off of Main Street instead of Route 2.
That it was just that, remember I asked. you
Media
about it.
center, yeah,
Because it's
the media center at the education center,
It's, yeah, you have to put it the same thing.
You could even say, use the Route 2 entrance or something like that, because I think people get confused. The one thing I think, once they get here, they'll know where to go, but you might have some people who go to Main Street and they think, well, I could go in, and then if they show up and they see no cars on Main Street, I don't want them to think that there's no vote. So you could say something to the effect of, access to polling use the Route 2 entrance to the education center. Unless one's up there.
And one of the things we had in signage, we had the sailing board out there, which had the wrong time on it, but, I'd say, signs that vote here. As a drive-through, when you go by, vote here. And I had a sign that said voting today from 12 to 6, which I told they were 3 to 6.
Well, yeah, they should just ask for it. We can.
Oh, no, we didn't, it wasn't, I just noticed it was saying they're welcome.
I didn't read it. Well,
But but a vote here sign would make sense too, because this is where the voting is taking place, so.
Oh, in other words, make
On
a
the same-
similar kind of thing for coming in
There's a
here.
big letter, vote here with an arrow, it's like,
Yeah.
this is where you vote.
Well, we're gonna talk more about the signage. So is there any other questions on this? I mean, do you have are you good with the feedback?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay, where, Christine, where do you want to have the North Star Education Center? Remind me what we.
So what we can do is what Mike said, so it can say, proposed budgets will be voted on by referendum at the North Star Education Center, 298 Northwest Road from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on June 28th, and add a sentence, please use Route 2 entrance for voting.
So. Sit down.
Okay,
Yeah, that's perfect.
but then.
And I think you want me to do that on this side,
Then I'm not using the center.
you don't have to.
Okay.
I think once again, yeah, there'll be welcome people out there like it was before.
Yeah.
Tell people where to go.
As long as they come in this way, they can't get lost.
And then the part that I do about the driving, I mentioned that to Mike because I think people are not wanting to, people are not wanting to, people working here don't want to do it. So I just want to make sure. that it's not-
Or just,
And I think it shouldn't be a problem. Somebody comes here and we've had it for years over the other place. They, people come out and help them. Go back in and all of that sort of
There's been differing, so I understand that people like that service. I'm not sure I feel like we should highlight it because I'm not sure we have the staff available to have a huge bolstering in that. Like I've heard feedback that we want people who need that service to use it. People who just don't feel like walking in here.
or the people who need assistance.
Yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So, and when I worked that day, there was very few of those, and there was people ready to run out there and do it. So you have one from each party, They go out there, they both bring it out, it's back, they'll put it in the machine, so. It worked out well, so that's why I'd like to have the driver, because I was asked a lot of questions when I saw, leaving you and your husband walking, like, why are you walking? Why didn't you just drive back there? So there was a few people, and then the other part, absentee ballots are now there. By the same
I put
person.
now, so because they,
Yeah.
I'm hoping they'll get it early next week.
All right, is there any other changes or suggestions on this?
I will send a copy to all of you when I'm ready to send it. A couple of hours before I send it to. I'm home, but
You're gonna email it to us. You're gonna email it to us. You're going to email it to us?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just we need your,
For you. Yes, thank you.
we're gonna have to do a tutorial with this microphone over here, because no one is going to hear you. No one is going to hear you. Today, it doesn't matter what's going on.
I did get a text message from Bailey letting me know that we could not hear you. So talk directly
Yeah. On the other
into.
end of this.
Your voice doesn't
She's
carry
watching
like
from
ours.
the office.
You really have to get up to the microphone. Yes,
I,
that's much better.
Much better.
Much better. Okay, so need to go forward with this. You can send it to us so we see it. We made the changes. Let's get it. All right, we good?
I'm good.
Okay.
okay.
All right, so the other advertising discussion, Bob, you brought it up. We talked about signs, we talked about a number of things, but we talked about getting some budget vote today signs, which I did get a quote on to get some of those. Now, I have out in the community, I think there's 6 or so volunteers who put up the please vote today signs at places that we determined to be well-traveled in all parts of town. So I would say we would use these signs in the same way. Now, depending on how many we want to get, so I got a quote for 50, and it was like $1,800, which, so right now we have, so we have the communications line 20, how much?
$2,300.
So we have $2,300, so we could use that line, this would be appropriate for that. And then how much is the mailer going to cost, you know, approximately?
I remember last time it's somewhere around 600.
I think the every door direct mail is about $450, and then I think printing is about
That's right.
less than $250.
Yeah.
More than two.
So about 700.
Yes.
Exactly.
So what we could do is I could take the count down a little bit.
So Lisa puts out 2, which covers all of Northwest Corner and most of the Solid Hill, and then that's on the Griswold side of Northwest Corner. And I know there's some at the bottom of the hill for those coming in from the Montwoods area. So there's only 4 or 5 signs needed there. As we spoke earlier, I guess whoever was in Fox Falls just missed it last time.
Yeah.
But I think that, 50 may be too many. We might get maybe away with 25. I'm not sure how many signs each person has. With
Yeah, so I have a map that I put out, pull it up right now, that I distributed, we created this map where people put out the signs. Let's see if I can pull it up.
if they come in, I could drop them off to Lisa too. If need be.
We hope to have a few people to 2 to 3 signs. 3. Yeah, so
Could we do 30?
I think 30 would be fine. So I'll get a new quote for 30 and then we will be within the monies we have.
Now, what is it going to look like?
Okay, so let me pull it up. I got a proof of that. It's right away to blue, it says budget vote today, I'm trying to find it, he did send it to me. but- It's my wrong. So many ways. of communicating. Got the email, it says. Where did he say he resent it to me? I'm not able to find it, I don't know, but it says budget vote today and it's red, white, and blue. Perfect. I mean, that's what everybody seemed to wanted to say, so. I'll email it to you guys when I can find it. I don't know why it's not showing up in my email for some reason. And if you have any feedback, just shoot me an email back.
Is there a way to, so we don't have to keep making signs, if it says budget vote today, is the way to cover up the word budget down the road, we just want to do a vote without making a new sign?
Oh, I found it. Well, we could, or we already have, please vote today signs.
We do have those, you're right.
So that's, and I had to put the seal kind of translucently in the back.
No, it's good.
You have any feedback, Nita?
It seems fine, I mean, yes,
What do you like? What don't you like?
that I would like something where you could put different things in it, just not just
So my experience,
today, today bothers me.
I have a lot of experience with signs, and I've done signs where there's a plastic insert to change things. It's never big enough to see.
The signs only go out late that evening before or the morning of, it's an issue that, because they take it down right after the vote's over. So, I mean, it's supposed to, so I don't think the word today is a problem either. If we're trying to advertise a week in advance, it would be, not for when they go out.
Well, let me just say this. The garden club has had signs for years and years to get them to that one sale that they have.
Yep.
They put it on the week before,
Yep.
and they have something down at the bottom that says what the date is, and that can come or go, period. And we've had them for years and years.
So is it a plastic thing that you just put it in?
It's a good size, and it goes all the way to other towns.
So the additional level of work that would be required for that is that we would have to then provide the volunteers with the insert at some point beforehand.
Right.
They would have to pick it up, they would have to insert it. I'm not saying any of this is impossible, it's just more of work.
I just think that this is already a giant leap forward as far as information. So sale these will recommend, obviously, if you do what you want to do, the price of the sign is going to go up also. And as Mike said, more work for the people that volunteers, so keep track of dates. And the date's always going to change. So I just think that this is a good start.
Okay. I'm not fighting against it.
Yeah, I understand.
I also think, and this might sound silly, but people don't always know what the date is. So if you say vote on June 28th, they might not know what date that is. So if it's just today, it keeps it simpler for people.
Like people around here now at the garden fair, like they see those signs and they're like, all right, I know the garden fair is coming up, and I know it's a Saturday because I know it's from 8 to 12, whatever, because I always go. So, yeah, I think we give these a shot.
Maybe over time, when people, when you see how all these things happen, that we could put a few in some big places, like we had some big signs for a couple of places.
Yeah.
So,
Probably put the date on the electronic board. Okay.
yes.
I mean, I'd be-
Yes, Connie or Amy, one of them. Yeah, they had already done that.
That's great. So
All right, so I'll go forward with this and I'll make sure I get a price, whether it's 30 or 28 or however many, to make sure we work with the funds that we have, knowing that the mailer is gonna cost us about 700.
Are you happy with the volunteers we have? I know we missed some clock calls. Is everybody up to speed on this, or is that just an oversight on that part?
Yeah, so they were all communicating, I always asked them back to email me that they're willing to do it. They did email me back and one of them just dropped the ball. So, that, I'll make sure that everyone knows that it must happen. And if they cannot, I always say this anyway. I think you might even be on the emails or you were at one point. If you can't do it, please let me know because I'm more than willing to go out myself and do it. In fact, that's what I did at first.
Well, same thing with me. I have to go right by, like, if Lisa Mazzella is gonna be on vacation, I gotta go right by her house or something.
Yeah, so I'll communicate with them. I'm gonna let them know that we are ordering new signs and we'll work out getting them. And if somebody feels like their life has changed, because they've been doing it now for, I guess probably 4 or 5 years, you know, and think, well, how, I'm sure we can find somebody else. It's a nice, easy task for somebody to do in town that helps them be a part of the process. Very appreciative for doing it, so.
No, Lisa is going to be away, you know that.
No, I didn't. I was just using an example.
Oh, yeah, I think she is, because she is going up to.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I could take her signs,
Yeah.
put them out at what, 11 o'clock the night before or something, or 10 o'clock.
What I always tell them, put them out, yeah, whatever time they can, like it's usually Sunday evening. And then I always tell them, make sure you pick them up Tuesday morning. So I mean, even if it's out at 5 o'clock on Sunday, I mean, people, if they think they're supposed to vote at 5 o'clock on Sunday, I don't know what to say, but.
I mean, I put them on. So if she can't, I'd be glad to do it.
Yeah.
I only know because it's just an
Okay.
involved training.
Well, if she answers you and says she can't do it, just say, I'll do it for you.
Right, and then the only other thing, is there anything else in the advertising you want to discuss?
No, I think it's a good start. We're reacting to feedback, so.
We are going to add, I'm going to add into this. The fact that they're to give them a shot.
No,
Oh, no,
I don't think we should put that on there.
no.
No, I don't think we need to put that on there. I mean, it would be nice, but that's already, we need them to vote. Like the vaccine thing is a nice thing, and I'll get a press release on that. You know, we'll get the word out on the ways on that.
Like do a Facebook event for the vaccination,
Yeah.
like separate,
Separate
as a
from the
separate
vote,
event.
yeah.
vote, to try to get it out.
I think we'll get some people. I think you will. I think there's people that, you know, they're gonna come here anyway, so. Okay. Very good. Good stuff. All right, number 5, the call for the special town meeting. So as we were all aware, we were at the meeting last night of the Board of Finance, that the appropriation request was approved unanimously to pay the expenses at this building. I'll be putting together a robust presentation to explain kind of the events that got us to that point. And so the other thing on the call is I also want to take the opportunity to do a state of the town, which I did do last time in February, I did last year in February. So I figure if we're having a town meeting, it's pretty timely that it's the end of the fiscal year. And what we did last time was we really reviewed. It was less about things we talked about at the town meeting and more about specifics about project updates. Get a little bit deeper dive on the land use situation, permit, you know, what's going on in town. And then I think on the financial side, we can talk about, you know, what debt we have outstanding, how long that debt is in service for. And I'm certainly open to any other suggestions that you have, but I thought, you know, to give a 10-minute opportunity for a presentation or 15 minutes on kind of those types of things, I think would be a good opportunity. And then to go into the appropriation request while we have people there. I don't know if there's any thoughts on that.
So have we decided the date?
Yeah, so let me read the call. We can put a motion on the table and then discuss. The call will be, warning is hereby given to the electors and those entitled to vote at town meetings of the town of North Stonington that a special town meeting shall be held at the following location on the date and time indicated for the purposes of transacting the The business set forth below, location, North Stonington Education Center, Media Center, 298 North Russell Road, and via Zoom, with the Zoom information read out, with the webinar ID and the date of June 29th, which is a Tuesday, it's the day after the vote. Time 7 p.m. For the purpose of verifying registered voters, those wishing to attend the meeting online and vote online will need to pre-register through the link provided by noon on the 29th. In-person attendance will be available following COVID-19 guidelines. Question one, state of the town update presentation. Question two, shall the town of North Stonington approve an additional appropriation in the amount of $96,752 for maintenance, utilities, and expenses for the North Stonington Education Center located at 298 North Russell Road as recommended by the Board of Finance?
Now, why do we have to bring out so close to?
So why don't we have a motion to approve? Can I have a motion to discuss?
Second.
Okay, so your question, why do we have to have it so close, is because we want to pay these bills in the fiscal year. The fiscal year ends on June 30th. That's the reason. It's that or the 30th. I mean, if we're trying to do it in this fiscal year, we need to do it by the end of the month. That's why. And I think the reason we waited till now is so we had a better picture of what those expenses would be. So we kind of waited as long as we possibly could. Discussion on it? No? All those in favor of approval of the call? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.